No one in the billionaire's mansion expected the trembling little girl to speak up. She stood there clutching her backpack, insisting her mother had an important job, one so unbelievable that everyone in the room burst into laughter. Everyone except the girl. Moments later, the massive doors opened, and the man who stepped inside made the billionaire's smile freeze instantly. His hands began to shake, his voice collapsed, and his entire face turned pale, because the girl had been telling the truth all along, and now the most powerful general in the country had come for her. The day started like any other for Ava, an 8-year-old girl with gentle eyes and a quiet strength that most adults overlooked. Her mother worked long hours and they lived modestly, never complaining, never asking for anything. Yet Ava always carried herself with unusual confidence, something people often mistook for arrogance. That morning, Ava was invited to her classmate Ethan's birthday celebration. Ethan came from a wealthy family, wealthy enough that his father, Bennett Grayson, one of the richest businessmen in the state, barely noticed the little children running around his mansion. He rarely attended his son's events, but today he did, mostly to show face to his wealthy clients who had also brought their children. Ava hesitated as she stepped into the enormous living room. Chandeliers sparkled above carpet thicker than any blanket she owned. Gold-framed portraits covered the walls, and waiters moved around offering treats she couldn't pronounce. She had never seen anything like this. Ethan greeted her politely, but the other children, not so much. Some whispered about her worn-out shoes, others laughed at her simple dress. Ava ignored them and quietly placed her gift, a hand-painted bookmark, on the table. It didn't take long for the parents to start gathering near Bennett Grayson, eager to impress him. The conversation shifted to careers, status, and power. One of the mothers asked the children what their parents did for a living. Ethan proudly said his father ran a multi-million-dollar company. Another child said his mother was a surgeon. Another claimed his dad was a judge. Then all eyes turned to Ava. She swallowed. "My mom works for the government," she said softly. A mother raised an eyebrow. "Government? Doing what, sweetheart?" Ava hesitated. Her mom always told her, "Never lie, but also don't share more than you should." Still, she spoke the truth. "She worked with the army," Ava said carefully. There was a pause, then sudden laughter. Bennett Grayson chuckled the loudest. "The army?" he repeated mockingly. "Your mother?" His guests smirked. Someone whispered, "Maybe she cleans the military offices." Ava shook her head. "No, sir. She has an important job." Bennett smiled cruelly. "Oh, really? Let me guess, she's a secret agent, a commander. Maybe she runs the whole military?" His tone dripped with sarcasm. Ava didn't flinch. "She works directly under a general," she said quietly. More laughter erupted. A few kids pointed at her, calling her a liar. Bennett looked pleased with himself, proud even, as if humiliating a child proved his superiority. Ava's cheeks burned, but her posture never wavered. Just then, Ethan tugged on his father's sleeve. "Dad, maybe she's telling the truth," Bennett scoffed. "Son, people like us run the world. People like her don't." Ava clenched her fists. She didn't want to cry, not here, not in front of them. The room buzzed with arrogance and amusement until suddenly, thud. Thud, thud. Heavy footsteps echoed through the hallway. The butler rushed in, pale and breathless. "Sir, someone important is here to see you." Bennett frowned. "Who?" "I'm in the middle of—" But his words froze when the doors swung open. A tall man in full decorated military uniform stepped inside, flanked by officers. Medals glimmered on his chest. His expression was sharp, commanding, and intense. A gasp swept across the room. Bennett swallowed hard, his confidence evaporating. The general's gaze swept the group and stopped. On Ava. Her face brightened. He walked straight to her. "Hello, Ava," the general said warmly. "Your mother sent me to pick you up." The entire room fell silent. Bennett's jaw dropped. Ava smiled softly. "Thank you, General McCall." Gasps. Whispering shock, the general placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Your mother sends her love," he said. "She's finishing a national briefing. She couldn't leave, so she asked me personally to bring you." Bennett's face turned white. Ava finally looked at him, and for the first time he couldn't look back. The hallway became even quieter the moment Olivia stepped away from the billionaire's security guard. No one expected a little girl to challenge a man as powerful as Richard Kane and survive it. But Olivia wasn't shaken at all. Her eyes were fixed straight ahead, on the double doors of the executive conference room where her mother was supposedly cleaning tables, according to Richard's cruel assumption. Richard followed her, irritated but pretending to stay composed. His assistant nervously walked behind him, tapping frantically on her tablet as if trying to figure out how the situation had spiraled out of control in just 5 minutes. Olivia pushed the heavy door open. Inside, a room full of military officers turned toward the sound. They wore medals, badges, and stern expressions. The billionaire froze. Why were so many high-ranking officials inside his building? And why were they meeting at his personal headquarters? A tall woman stood at the head of the table, sharp uniform decorations across her chest. Strong posture that could intimidate anyone. It took Richard less than a second to realize who she was, and it felt like the floor disappeared beneath him. General Elena Carter, one of the highest-ranking officers in the entire country. Not a cleaner, not a maid, not someone who served drinks. She commanded thousands of soldiers, and every powerful person in the nation respected her. Olivia's mother. The billionaire's throat tightened. He suddenly looked very, very small. The general turned, eyes softening when she saw her daughter. "Olivia, what are you doing here?" "I told you to stay in the waiting room." Olivia crossed her arms confidently. "He called you a cleaner, Mommy. He said I was lying." Every officer in the room slowly turned their eyes toward Richard. It felt like being judged by a firing squad. Richard's face drained of color. "General, I didn't know." General Carter raised a single hand. Calm, controlled, terrifying. "You didn't ask," she replied sharply. "You assumed." Olivia walked straight to her mother and held her hand proudly. She wasn't scared anymore, not with General Carter beside her. The billionaire noticed how the room's energy shifted instantly. Every officer softened toward the girl but glared at him. General Carter lowered her voice, but every word hit like thunder. "My daughter told me a billionaire insulted her in the lobby. I didn't expect it to be you." Richard swallowed hard, trying to recover his dignity. "It was a misunderstanding, a simple mistake." "Yet you made it loudly," the general cut him off. "In front of your staff, in front of my child." Olivia looked up at her mother.
"Mommy, I wasn't lying. I told him you were the general."
General Carter knelt down and brushed Olivia's hair back gently. "I know, sweetheart, you never lie." The officers watched with silent approval. The billionaire watched with growing humiliation. Suddenly, the automatic doors opened again. More soldiers walked in. Not ordinary soldiers, bodyguards assigned specifically to the general. They saluted sharply. "Ma'am, we're ready for the briefing." Richard could barely breathe. Why were her personal guards here inside his building? General Carter stood tall again. "Mr. Kane, you should know something before we begin." Richard looked up like a student waiting to be scolded. "My team is here because your company is under review for a major defense contract. A contract worth billions." The billionaire felt his knees weaken. Olivia squeezed her mother's hand and whispered, "Is he in trouble?" General Carter lowered her eyes to her daughter with a tiny smirk. "Not yet, but he's about to learn respect." Richard's heart dropped to his feet. Officers stepped aside to give the general the floor. Olivia stayed by her mother's side, chin lifted proudly. No longer the girl who had been mocked, but the one who held the room's attention. And Richard Kane, the billionaire who thought he owned everything, now realized he might lose more than a contract. He might lose his reputation. He might lose his empire, all because he underestimated the wrong little girl. The entire classroom went silent the moment the general finished speaking. It felt as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. The billionaire, Mr. Langford, stood frozen, his face pale, his confidence shattered into pieces too small to ever gather again. Lila slowly stepped back from the general, unsure whether she should speak. She had never seen her mother's commander before. She had only heard stories about his discipline, his loyalty, and his respect for the soldiers under him. Yet here he was, defending her as if she were the most important child in the world. "Sir, I didn't mean to cause trouble," she whispered softly. General Hale turned to her, his expression instantly softening. "You didn't cause trouble, Lila. You told the truth. And today you taught this man a lesson about humility." Mr. Langford felt his throat tighten. He had never been spoken to like this. Not by politicians, not by investors, not even by world leaders he had shaken hands with. But the worst part wasn't the general's rebuke. It was the realization that he had mocked a child whose mother risked her life for the country that had made him wealthy. I didn't know, he muttered, voice trembling. No, the general replied firmly. You didn't care to know. Those words hit harder than any punishment could. Lila looked at Mr. Langford with a mixture of hurt and confusion. She didn't want to cause him pain. She only wanted him to stop calling her a liar. Her small hands tightened around the strap of her school bag as she took a hesitant step forward. My mom doesn't brag, she said softly. She never tells anyone she's a soldier. I only told you because you said you don't like people who lie. I thought, if you knew the truth, you'd stop being angry. Mr. Langford felt something inside him crumble. The arrogance, the pride, the belief that wealth made him unquestionable, all of it felt suddenly childish. He knelt down, lowering himself to Lila's height. I wronged you, he said quietly. And I wronged your mother. I judged you because of your clothes, your silence, your everything. I judged you without ever knowing who you were. Lila stared at him, unsure how to respond. The general folded his arms. Do you know why your son lost the robotics competition today? He asked Mr. Langford. The billionaire blinked. Because the judges were unfair. No, the general interrupted coldly. Because he behaves exactly like you. The words echoed like a thunderclap. General Hale continued, arrogance is not intelligence, and disrespect is not power. Your son watched you insult a child. Children learn more from what you do than what you tell them. In the corner of the room, the billionaire's son, Mason, stood staring down at his feet. For the first time, he looked ashamed. Dad, she wasn't lying, he whispered. Mr. Langford shook his head slowly. No, she wasn't. I made a mistake. A very big one. Lila took a small step toward Mason. I didn't want trouble, she said, her voice gentle as ever. You just kept saying bad things about my mom. I wanted you to stop. Mason nodded, the weight of the moment sinking into him. I'm sorry. There was another silence, this time softer, warmer, more human. Mr. Langford looked at the general. Is there anything I can do to make this right? Yes, General Hale replied. You can start by teaching your child what respect looks like. And maybe start practicing it yourself. The billionaire swallowed his pride and nodded. Then he turned back to Lila. I would like to meet your mother, he said sincerely. I owe her an apology and my thanks. Lila's eyes widened. She'll be home next week, she whispered. She's coming back from deployment. Then I'll be there, he promised. For the first time since the confrontation began, Lila smiled. A small, hopeful smile that warmed the room far more than the billionaire's wealth ever could. The general placed a hand on the girl's shoulder. You've shown bravery today, Lila, he said. Your mother will be proud. Mr. Langford rose slowly, helping his son gather his things. For the first time in his life, the billionaire understood something far more powerful than money, the impact of humility. And for the first time, Mason looked at Lila with respect. The bell rang, signaling the end of class. But for everyone in that room, something much more important had just begun. As the sun dipped behind the tall glass buildings of the city, the billionaire, Ethan Hale, stood outside the hospital with a silence that felt heavier than the past weeks of fear, guilt, and sleepless nights. His son Liam was alive, not because of the specialists he had spent millions on, not because of the machines humming inside the ICU, but because of the poor girl he had insulted, doubted, and dismissed. Her name was Ayla. Inside the ward, Liam finally opened his eyes fully, breathing without assistance, his voice still weak but alive. Doctors kept repeating that it was a miraculous neurological reversal, something they had never seen. But Ethan knew miracles were not random. They came through people sent at the exact moment one needed them. Ayla stood near the window, hands clasped as if she wasn't sure she was allowed to stay. She was still wearing the same simple dress, now stained with worry and long nights, and yet her presence filled the entire room with calm. Liam smiled at her weakly. Thank you for bringing me back, he whispered. Ayla smiled softly. I didn't bring you back. I just helped you find your way. Ethan watched, feeling a tightness in his chest. He had mocked her, accused her of being a fraud, and even threatened her, all because she had claimed she could save his son. And yet she had stood firm, not because she wanted the $1 million he had promised sarcastically, but because she believed healing was her purpose. After doctors cleared the room, Ethan approached her quietly. Ayla, I don't know how to undo the way I treated you. She looked at him gently. You were a father in pain. Pain blinds people. I don't hold it against you. Her words hit his heart sharper than any insult ever could. About the 1 million, I meant what I said. You saved my son, it's yours. Isla shook her head immediately. I don't want your money, healing is a gift, not a business. Ethan felt stunned. No one had ever rejected his money. No one. But you deserve something, he insisted. Isla hesitated. There is something I want, but it isn't money. She looked at Liam, then back at Ethan. I want a clinic, not for profit. A place where poor families can come without fear, without shame. A place where children like Liam and families like mine don't have to watch their loved ones fade simply because they cannot afford help. Ethan stared at her, overwhelmed. This girl, who had every reason to take the money and walk away from him, wanted instead to heal the world. Ayla, I'll build it. The biggest healing center this city has ever seen. And you'll run it. Her eyes widened, filling with tears. You mean that? For the first time in a long time, I mean something with my whole heart. Weeks passed and the Isla Hale Healing Center opened its doors and free for all. The ribbon-cutting ceremony was attended by reporters, doctors, and families from all over the city. Ethan and Liam stood beside Ayla, not just as beneficiaries of her gift, but as partners in her mission. That day, Ethan addressed the crowd. Wealth doesn't make a man powerful, compassion does. And today we honor the girl who reminded me of that. Isla remained humble, speaking only a few words. Miracles don't require power. They require belief. And sometimes listening to the people we overlook. Liam hugged her, a long, grateful hug that said more than words. You saved me, he whispered. You saved yourself, she replied softly. And from that day on, the billionaire who once mocked a poor girl became the biggest supporter of her gift. And the girl who had nothing became the one who gave the world something money could never buy. Hope.